X-Talks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This life science-focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to keep you up to date. This week on the show, we are discussing the top pharma TV ad spenders in 2022 and RX Pass, Amazon's new prescription drug program. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the X-Talks Life Science Podcast. I'm Aisha Rashid, Senior Life Science Journalist at xtalks.com, and this week I'm joined by Sarah Hand and Vera Kovacevic. Thanks for coming today. I'm going to start us off with a story about Amazon's new prescription drug program, which is offering common medications for a flat fee of just $5. So, of course, Amazon is continuing to really aggressively ramp up its healthcare portfolio, and in attempts to do so, it's introduced a new program called RX Pass, and this program was introduced last week. And it involves a flat fee of $5 a month, and when customers purchase that, they can buy an unlimited amount of commonly prescribed generic medications. Now, RX Pass was launched by Amazon Pharmacy, again last Tuesday, and it's available in most U.S. states. It requires an Amazon Prime membership, which in the U.S. is $139 per year. And the drug program is being offered as an add-on to Prime members, again, for $5 a month. And so Prime members will have access to medications through this program that treat more than 80 common health conditions, including things like acid reflux, anxiety, and high blood pressure, among others. And the list of available medicines includes about 50 generic drugs. In addition to that, the program also offers 24/7 round-the-clock assistance provided by pharmacists or support staff. Amazon says that customers don't need to use any insurance plan with the RX Pass program. It's just the $5 a month fee that Amazon Prime members have to pay as an add-on. So as part of its ongoing healthcare expansion, as I mentioned, Amazon launched Amazon Pharmacy in 2020 and a virtual health clinic called Amazon Clinic in August of last year. Also last year, it purchased primary care company One Medical in a huge deal worth $3.9 billion, again in the summer of last year. And before that, Amazon actually acquired online pharmacy retailer PillPack in 2018 for $750 million, and it's currently branded as Amazon PillPack. And that was a very major move because it allowed Amazon to get into the online pharmacy sector and to really innovate and kind of be a pioneer in that space. So according to John Love, who is the vice president of Amazon Pharmacy, the goal of RX Pass is to offer affordable access to commonly prescribed generic medications. And this could really be game-changing because customers will be offered this low price, and so the affordability and the convenience for people and addressing their medical needs will be huge. And he was talking about this in a statement and in an interview that he gave to describe and talk about the RX Pass program. He also explained that there haven't been many innovations in the pharmacy experience for customers for decades. For example, he said customers may often be surprised about the pricing of their medications at the point when they're getting them at the pharmacy counter. And so, they have to really be keen on budgeting for their medications, driving over to the pharmacy to pick them up, although delivery is available at a lot of pharmacies now. But again, it's still kind of an outdated system. And so he's saying that, this program through Amazon Pharmacy is really sort of an innovation that the company is looking to offer customers. And of course, with the convenience and affordability built into that. And he said that it's going to be very valuable for people who have especially chronic conditions, or people who might need more than one medication. They may be on 2, 3, 4 different types of drugs. And so RX Pass would allow any eligible medications to be available to people for that single, very low flat fee of $5 a month. And with the added bonus, of course, that the drugs would be delivered right to their door. So in addition to RX Pass, Amazon also offers a Prime prescription savings benefit, and through that, customers can get up to 80% off of generic medications and up to a 40% discount on brand name prescriptions at more than 60,000 participating pharmacies. And again, as Amazon pharmacies growing steps in the healthcare space, and especially in the pharmacy space here, including RX Pass and its prescription delivery and price comparison site through Amazon PillPack, all of these new innovations and endeavors and projects will definitely be cutting into more traditional drugstore giants like CVS and Walgreens, cutting into their business models and really shaking things up essentially and posing a threat. So Amazon Pharmacy is really looking to innovate and make a dent in this sector, and it's doing so really at a quick pace and through a lot of innovations and new ideas here. So Amazon's growing healthcare push has seen the company incorporate things like telehealth, drug delivery, fitness trackers, and even cancer research into its portfolio in recent years, and partnered with the company to help develop cancer vaccines against things like melanoma. So it's really, really ramping up its healthcare portfolio, which is very interesting to see, and it's made such major moves in the last couple of years. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on this new RX Pass program specifically from Amazon Pharmacy, and what do you think about this flat fee? Just $5? Is it too good to be true, or do you and how do you think it's going to impact customers and in terms of accessibility?
Well, I think this must be like 50 of the cheapest generic drugs that exist, right? That must be covered under their program, because I know that generic drugs are much cheaper than brand name drugs. I mean, we all do, but yeah, for it to be worth it for them for a flat fee of $5 a month, I mean, they got to be some really cheap generic drugs.
Well, you know what? That's funny you should say that, Vera, because that was also my initial reaction to this was, how are they going to make money on this? But I think that is the Amazon business model, in that it doesn't matter to them, at least at first, if something makes money or not. They have time and time again shown that they can undercut competitors and then either increase the price of something later on. I mean, famously, the way they started was becoming an online bookseller and selling books more cheaply than traditional bookstores, and really gaining market share from there. And so I think maybe it doesn't matter if this becomes a loss leader for Amazon. I think they have more to gain from not making any money on this project, at least at first. I think one of the big hurdles to overcome is having people get comfortable getting medications, prescription medications, from Amazon. Not that it's not possible right now to be ordering drugs online, but I think that's one thing that they have to get people comfortable with. And I think another thing is just getting consumer health data. It would be worth it to them, even if they're losing money on this particular program. But I agree, Vera. I think they're definitely going to be the more cheap generic drugs that are cheap to begin with because they're so widely prescribed. And I can see, we'll have to see how many patients adopt this, but I can see this being big. But one thing I think that they're missing, and I know you said, or maybe I read it on their press release, they're gonna have like 24-hour support. I think like phone support. I think that's great. Yeah. But I think one thing they're missing, which I'm not sure how valuable this is to people, but I can see this being something to consider, is that like in-person experience with a pharmacist. I think people, maybe in particular of an older generation, are used to going into a pharmacy, talking to a pharmacist, maybe if they're on multiple medications, talking about management and contraindications and things that shouldn't be taken together. A pharmacist really becomes part of your care team, especially when you're not seeing your doctor as often, or doctor's visits, in-office visits are, really short. Doctors have to get through so many patients in a day. So I think that's one place they could be at a disadvantage compared to traditional brick and mortar pharmacies. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, those are really great points. And I think, especially, yes, for older generations that are used to that pharmacy experience, that in-person experience, I think that could definitely be, something that they're going to be losing out on. And they may not be as comfortable, let's say, picking up a phone and speaking to the pharmacist, although that is something that I think some people still do. And I think, but let's say in terms of getting on Zoom and speaking to your pharmacist, Amazon also has that virtual care as well. So they're really, trying to push in all different kinds of areas and to try to really get customers. And, going back to the point about how Amazon builds its brands, it's all about the name, and it's all about getting customers acquainted to new models and that they didn't even know they needed, right? Like, it's kind of like, oh, everyone is getting Amazon Prime memberships. Like, do we really need to have packages in 1 or 2 days? But they sell it to you in a way where it's like, yeah, you do, right? So,
well, you get used to that frequency, get used to and that. Anything slower than that feels...
You're just like, what?
Yeah.
Where is this?
Yeah.
So, they continue to, I think this is a very genius kind of, a very smart program that they've launched. And in the short term, it may not be making them money, but it's all about that brand. It's all about that name, getting their name out there, getting those programs out there. And I think they're really going to take this and just really fly with it. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how consumers in the beginning open up to this and warm up to this. Or not. But again, like, they have such a huge healthcare portfolio right now that continues to grow. So I think it's just one of many feathers in their cap right now. But it will be interesting to see how customers will react to this, because this is different from like getting, something else off of Amazon. Like, these are drugs. Like, people are very concerned about quality and things like that. So we will see how the response is, but all right, moving on to our next story. And for this, let's take a look at some of the biggest pharma TV ad spenders of last year. So in 2022, it was almost a record-breaking year for the U.S. pharma industry in terms of their advertising spending. And for the last couple of years, the U.S. Pharma industry has spent well over $6.5 billion a year on advertising. And last year, I think they were on track to, I don't think the final numbers are in, which I couldn't find, but I think they were well on track to hit like about $7 billion in advertising spend. So pharma is the fourth largest spender on TV ads in the country after retail, financial and real estate, and the tech industries. And so while billions of dollars continue to be poured into pharma TV ads every year, total spending actually only rose by about 1% in 2022 compared to the previous year. And experts say that this is likely a reflection of changing trends, particularly the diversion of more spending towards digital marketing instead of linear TV advertising. However, so before we get into the list of top 10 pharma TV ad spenders in 2022, I just wanted to share some data and some insights into what the trends are in pharma advertising and what we can expect going forward in the coming year and years to come. So experts say that the pharma industry, despite this huge trend towards digital marketing, pharma still continues to be a bit more hesitant when it comes to completely throwing in the towel for TV ads and traditional TV ad marketing. So they say that the industry largely continues to focus on traditional TV ads because it feels there's still a market for them. And this kind of does make sense. For example, older adults, which are an important target audience for many drugs, still may be tuning into their TV sets and may not be as comfortable using digital technologies and being on digital platforms like social media. So according to Media Radar, linear TV accounted for 70% of pharma ad spend in 2021. And that was just down about 5% from the previous year. So still a significant proportion of pharma ad spend is still devoted towards TV ads. And so Rick Bruner, who's the head of insights and analytics at Standard Media Index, or SMI, said that pharma's really been lagging behind compared to the rest of the advertising industry because it's spent, again, more than half of its ad budget on linear TV. And this trend kind of continues, and it is slowly changing, but again, the change seems to be very, very slow and gradual. So in terms of looking now at the top 10 pharma ad spenders for 2022, the top 10 accounted for a total of $1.68 billion in TV ad spend, and that was only up slightly from the $1.61 billion that was spent in 2021, again, across the top 10 spenders. So the top 3 spots this year belonged to immunology drugs for autoimmune conditions like arthritis and eczema. In addition to anti-inflammatories and immunological drugs, the list was also dominated by type 2 diabetes drugs, including the social media sensation, dare I say, and celebrity favorite Ozempic, so which made the top 10 list this year. I'm not sure if it was the TV ad spend that made it into what it is. It was obviously that the digital component there. But so in addition to that, you had companies like Sanofi and Regeneron who are actually on track to take the top spot for total TV ad spend in 2022 for their immunological drug Dupixent. So by the third quarter, they were actually leading in total TV ad spend. However, rival AbbVie actually really amped up its TV campaigns for its arthritis and eczema JAK inhibitor Rinvoq in November and December. And so with their aggressive campaigns, they were able to take the top spot for the year in terms of total TV ad spend. So AbbVie spent $315.8 million on TV ads for Rinvoq in 2022, according to ad tracking specialists iSpot.tv. And again, much of that, so $97 million, was spent in just the last 2 months of 2022 alone, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if they just had some budget left over for end of the year spend. And this is more than double and even triple what most other companies were spending on their drugs at the same time. So also surprisingly, AbbVie's Humira didn't make it into the top 10 this year. And that's probably because it's already established itself as the world's best-selling drug at $20 billion a year in sales. AbbVie was also spending a lot on its other immunology drug, Skyrizi. And then if we look at some other drugs and companies, again, you had Regeneron and Sanofi come in right behind AbbVie with Dupixent, and then you had Ozempic coming in at number 4, and again, that is Novo Nordisk's injectable GLP-1 type 2 diabetes drug. And as we've talked about before and covered the whole story about Ozempic shortages happening because a lot of people again, through social media, learned that it has a side effect of weight loss. And so a lot of people turn to Ozempic as a weight loss drug. And so there's a bit of controversy around that because now people, because of the shortages, because of the huge demand, you have type 2 diabetic patients who aren't able to get access to the drug because of the shortages, owing to people using it for, secondary indications or for secondary purposes. So that's kind of an ongoing thing happening. And rounding out the list, we have, again, another oral GLP-1 type 2 diabetes drug from Novo Nordisk, Rybelsus, in 6th place. And then Eli Lilly was at 7th place with Trulicity, which is, again, another type 2 diabetes drugs. So, again, the list is very much dominated by drugs for diabetes and anti-inflammatories. So just wanted to get your thoughts on the Pharma TV ad spend for last year, 2022, which was record breaking. And also, how do you see the pharma industry in terms of its hesitancy in turning towards more innovative or newer forms of advertising, such as digital marketing?
Well, you know what was really funny? Like the whole time you were talking, I was wondering, like, why have I never seen like a Pharma TV ad?
Because we're in Canada.
I know. The U.S. and New Zealand are the only countries that are allowed to market prescription drugs
to consumers.
Directly to consumers. I didn't even know that, and I was thinking, like, in Canada, I've never seen one. When I've traveled to Europe and watched the TV with my grandparents, like, I've never seen one, and now I understand why. And I think, like, from what I read online, the pharma companies, they still spend more on R&D than on these TV ads, right? And obviously, I think TV ads for these prescription drugs are beneficial because they do show consumers that, like, new treatments are out there. Even if an ad is not for their condition, maybe they'll start wondering, oh, is there a new drug for the condition I do have? So overall, I think it's very beneficial. And I think, like, pharma companies still have the data to back up to show that these TV ads do make them additional revenue. Otherwise, they wouldn't do them anymore, right?
Yeah, Vera, I'm surprised that you haven't seen ads because so much, well, I guess
I've seen
a lot of
YouTube.
us... Okay, I was going to say, like, a lot of
US
us
channels we do get.
Yeah, a lot of us don't have cable anymore. Like, we don't have cable anymore, but so many of our channels here were, like, US-based channels, right? That's where I had mostly seen ads. But I agree with you, Vera. I think these TV spots must be doing something for their sales, or else why would they pour so much money into them? I think, to your point, Aisha, towards the industry's overall sort of hesitancy to pour more resources into digital promotions. I've always gotten the sense that it's just harder to be compliant. And I think that there's concern among marketers, around regulatory compliance with those types of promotions. So, with a TV ad, as long as you make it in a certain way and you have the small print at the bottom and it says, may cause side effects including la 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 la. As long as you present it in a balanced way with the risks and the benefits of that drug and what a patient needs to know, you're pretty much set as far as compliance goes, and you send out that ad and it's aired, and that's kind of it. It's a very one-sided transaction, I guess I would say, like, with the person viewing it. But everything digital is so two-sided, and so
a lot more engagement.
Exactly. So any sort of, like, social media post has the potential for comments and things. I think it's just a whole other beast. And so I think we see pharma companies obviously adopting some of these digital promotional strategies, but I understand their hesitance to go whole hog into that area as opposed to spending the same amount on TV ads. Kind of going to the point of the whether or not these ads are appropriate, considering there's only 2 countries in the whole world that allow direct to consumer marketing of prescription drugs. I have mixed feelings. I see your point, Vera, in that it helps with awareness, not only of the drug, but potentially also of conditions, because a lot of these bigger pharma companies will do awareness campaigns to help people, understand new conditions maybe that are rising in incidence and that sort of thing. But I also think there's just sort of like a weirdness to it in that you're saying, talk to your doctor about this particular drug, and they want you to bring that drug up by name with your doctor. And I wonder, how that influences a doctor's propensity to prescribe something that a patient is asking for. I think there's been lots that's been said about this, about the ethics of direct-to-consumer advertising, particularly in the pharma space, but I'm not sure. I have mixed feelings.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on the mixed feelings in terms of, advertising directly to consumers in this way. I think because there's a gap in context and knowledge, and in terms of patients, for sure they are aware of their health conditions, but from a medical perspective, they don't have that background that a physician would have, and of course that's why they are encouraged to go speak to their physician. And then I just wonder how much time physicians are spending on just fielding questions from patients that see these ads on TV. So I think it's an interesting dynamic there, and one that we don't have here in Canada. But I'm a bit iffy about it as well. Patients learning about the next hot drug, from TV, or let's say even on social media, which we've seen with Ozempic and all the problems around that. So I think it's a slippery slope there. And I think, even though coming back to the point about pharma being hesitant about going, into digital marketing, I think it's an inevitability where, people are sharing things about drugs online. And we've seen that with Ozempic and what happened there, where it went viral on TikTok, right? And so it's, again, inevitable. And I think pharma companies are going to be looking at things like that happening, and that's directly translated into an impact on them, right? In terms of like these shortages, like Novo Nordisk, and then you had Eli Lilly trying to come in with Mounjaro, but it's like, oh well, they're using the same raw ingredients, and so are they going to be able to keep up with this GLP-1 agonist injectable shortage? So it's been just kind of crazy to see it play out like that, and I'm afraid we might be seeing more of this in the future, and how pharma companies are going to be contending with this. Like they're being inadvertently pulled into the digital space through happenings like this. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate that going forward.
Yeah, I think you're right, Aisha. It's inevitable. And, even if the FDA turned around tomorrow and said, nope, no more DTC ads on TV.
Right.
I mean, it's not like people wouldn't learn about these drugs online. And of course, people should have access to that information. But, I wonder, like, what effect that would really have on their bottom line, of the pharma companies, or if they would just sort of transition that ad spend to, digital, if that were the case. But you're right. I mean, people find out about things. I think doctors have a lot to deal with in general with people Googling, my stomach hurts, like, what could that be? And then they come into the office and they're like, I think I have an ulcer, whatever. I mean, and that's not a new thing either. But it's, in the case of something like Ozempic, it seems like it should be sort of a really good thing for what company was it that makes
Novo
Ozempic again?
Nordisk.
For Novo
you would
Nordisk,
think, right? Initially,
because of
it
the
was
increase in sales.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
But then with the shortage, like I really wonder how hard it is for them to control the messaging now that there are these things that just go viral overnight on social media and things like TikTok. whereas before I'm not sure there were the same types of, spikes in
Right.
popularity
Demand,
of
yeah.
particularly prescription drugs,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you would hear about shortages, and you do, based on things like, issues in manufacturing or in supply chain and things like that, but never like consumer demand for a drug like this. I think this is like unprecedented, and so it's been eye-opening to see. Yeah.
And so this is, in that case too, they're just relying on physicians like prescribing it off-label, right? I think that's like a whole other conversation.
That's
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
it's not approved as a weight loss drug. It is a diabetes drug, but
it
physicians
can
are
be,
prescribing it
off-label.
off-label.
It can
And
be, yeah.
so that's a whole other thing, this idea of off-label prescriptions. That I'm sure we don't have time to get into today, but I think that's another topic that's really interesting, and it's hard for the drug maker to anticipate demand for, right? If it's going to start,
you never
to
know
be
what's going to
prescribed
be the
for
next viral
other
sensation.
indications.
So.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for those great insights. So that's the end of this episode of the X Talks the Life Science podcast. If you liked today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to the X Talks Life Science Podcast. If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find X Talks on social media, email podcast@xtalks.com, or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.